All right, so moving on now, let's talk about the second episode of Batchack Man by Peacemakers. So this is, well, it kind of started off as Keon Byron's own thing, his own
Right.
little superhero series, but quite recently, I should say, like, well, late last year, whatever, it joined the Vil Ventures universe. So now it's in the same world as Magnolia, right? And it's funny too because in the first episode, right, which I mentioned in the Magnolia season finale, they do mention um, they do mention a particular moment in an episode of Magnolia which involved Keon.
Right.
It's one of those comic book things now, like, oh, well, why this character here but across there? And just give you a reason, and it's just like, well, all right, well, that's the reason. Okay, cool. I can live with that. It's silly, but it works, right? But yeah, so this episode here is called Power Struggle, right? And what we get here is just mainly a continuation, obviously, of what happened before, right? So it's involving this bad guy who has this herb, right? But
Right.
he somehow found a way to synthesize it. That's the term I'll use, right? To enhance, human strength and all that kind of stuff. Now, of course, it could have, side effects, like really deadly side effects and all that kind of stuff, right? So Batchack Man being, because part of his power involves just knowing about herbs and, using herbs to heal people and all that kind of stuff. You actually
Right.
see that in the first episode, right? Because in the older films, the older Batchack Man films, he actually in, inherited, I would say, the powers, the mystical powers, I would say, of this character called the herbalist, right? And in this world, right, compared to something like Magnolia, it actually involves a lot more folklore characters, right? So in this episode here, you actually see Mama Glow, right, which is one of our famous folklore characters, right? And it's a nice little bit of world building because they kind of establishing that, oh, you know what I mean? There's this world with these folklore characters, and we're not supposed to like invade the human world, but somebody doing this kind of shenanigans with this plant. So now Batchack Man has a month, like 30 days literally, to find out what's going on, or else they will be like, held to pay, basically, right? So he's dealing with that, right? At the same time, he runs into an old rival of his by the name of the OH, right? He is a Russian, well, former gangster basically from Russia, but he wants to start a new life. He has a bar over in Sandover, of all places, so haha. But yeah, point is now he actually like contacts Batchack Man to inform him of some dark stuff that's going on. And yeah, that pretty much just puts our hero in this scenario now, basically, where it's like you don't know who to trust and all that kind of stuff, right? And there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, right? So pretty much the same praise that I gave the premiere episode, right? Because I was actually impressed by it and the huge step in quality, compared, like, from what we got with the previous films now. It continues on here though in terms of just the writing and especially the pacing. Though the pacing is really what's impressing me here by just the time spent in just fleshing out the story and the characters without just jumping into like some random fight scene or action scene, right? Speaking of that, we do get an action scene. Well, actually, I should say a pretty decent fight scene. It's in the trailer, but it totally works, and you could see Keon, like really committed to it. Well, I know if you see that scene, or you probably saw clips of it, Ricardo,
Right.
you might notice a person or two who probably was involved because Keon has a wrestling past, right? Like local
Right.
wrestling past, right?
Right. 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 Right.
So I don't know the guys, I don't know the stunt team in the show, but maybe if you look at them, you might be like, oh yeah, I know this guy.
Right.
He
Right. Right.
wrestled
Right.
here, whatnot, right? So
Yeah.
you do that. They also establish a couple new characters. This one young woman who, well, it's revealed that she actually got injected with that same chemical thing from the plant itself, and it gives her like these superhuman powers, so to speak, right? So, but if I have one gripe though, like I thought that the episode would have gone back to her. 'Cause it just kind of starts with her, and then it just kind of stops like right after we see title card or whatever, and then it just kind of moves on to Battrack Man's scenario, issue now, but in terms of just where the story is going, I think it is going at a really even pace, and I really do appreciate that. But yeah, though, like I just really feel like it is a gradual step up from what we saw with those films, not just in terms of the storytelling, but the acting, the dialogue. You know what I mean? Just everything seems to have just stepped up quite a bit, man. I'm actually impressed, man.
Right.
But episode itself, right, is intriguing enough, especially where it ends, and I got to see what happens there. But I am curious to see where the story is gonna go. I'm just gonna keep my fingers crossed, that we don't get a scenario similar to Magnolia, where the story itself had to be trimmed down because of COVID and other circumstances. There, I just do hope that Keon gets a chance to tell his story the way he wants to tell it. And just entertain us along the way, man. Because yeah, I mean, honestly, I am really digging where the story is going so far, man. And I do hope that we see a bit more references to the Vil Ventures universe. We actually saw that in the first episode, as I mentioned before, but not that much with this one here, right? But yeah, this is going really good, man, and this is a pretty solid episode of this show here. So I'm not sure when we're gonna get episode 3. I do hope that we get it very soon. But yeah, I'm digging this, man. I like it where this is going so far, man.
Yeah.